Hi there, everyone. My name is Trassa from Goddess Inspire. I'm a qualified galactic astrologer and an Akashic record reader. And we're going to talk about here today about the massive shift in consciousness that's about to happen in the world in 2025. And what we're seeing in the world right now is Neptune is in Pisces and has been there since 2011, 2012. So it was a big spiritual awakening that happened in the world, which was great. But it also was about kind of victim consciousness as well, and kind of people being kind of disempowered. So now that it's actually going to be moving, Neptune's going to move into Aries on the 30th of March 2025. That's all about self-accountability, stepping into your power, action at the fire down. It's I can do this. So I have an amazing practitioner today, Kira Burns, and I've worked with Kira in the past. She's absolutely amazing. She's based in the west of Ireland, and she's a trauma alchemist and a soul repair practitioner. And Kira knows a lot about this work. Runs a busy clinic and she works with people all over the world. So I'm going to pass you over to Kira. And yeah, hi, Kira.
Hi, Tressa. How are you? Thanks for having me. And it's interesting because I'm no astrologer, but I love listening to what's going on in the sky and how it affects us here on the ground on planet Earth. And, for the past number of years now, we have been working through what a lot of people are describing as our shadow self, our dark side, our ego. Some people refer to it as the blind spot, but knowingly or unknowingly, we're all working on it on some level. Now, there are some of us that are, in on the spiritual path and that have kind of cracked on to the whole ideology a while back. So we've been on our path, but I know for me personally years ago when I was on the path after my tower moment, it was like you just need to do your inner healing. My question was, well, how? Tell me what to do and I'll do it, but how? So literally I evolved into what I needed myself. And basically that is I am a coach, a spiritual coach, a personal development coach that will guide you through your shadow side, your dark side, your ego, your blind spots, whatever you want to call it, in a way that is very safe, non-judgmental, and very, very effective. So that is essentially what I do. It's focused on the world you see outside of you is a reflection of what is actually going on within. Now, that can be a very daunting prospect to think about and look at because it's like how it's, for being here on the ground in Mother Earth, it's quite a big concept. It's like, well, how do I fix that? I am who I am. Well, actually, I believe and I know that we are who we have been told to be, who we've been conditioned to be. We are who we are because of our life experience, the family we were born into, the society that influenced our and shaped our early years, the people that cared for us, looked after us, the people the teachers, every part, the church, whatever, religious, everything has all had a part in making up your inner programs and your inner reflection of the world you're looking out into. And it is totally changeable. Um, so if you have a problem or an issue in your life, a recurring pattern, instead of looking out and saying, well, it is just the way it is, there's actually loads you can do. You can look within to see what is magnetizing that back into your reality. And that's what I help you do. I help you. So I obviously have the gift that I'm able to access that side of a person when we work in space with them. But I will help you to bring that to light and we clear and alchemize it at its points of origin so that you're free to move on and experience life without the reality of whatever was holding you stuck.
I love that. I love that. What's the most common reason that people come to you for healing?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, you always have the usual life experiences of being bullied or being mistreated in some way. So it's really your life journey. There's all forms of mistreatment will create dialogues within a person that will negatively impact on how they view the world and how they move through the world and how the world interacts with them. So there's no set way, but there is the usual culprits. Narcissistic abuse is the major, big, huge one. You've all the sexual trauma, all of it, bullying, across the board, really. But essentially, it doesn't really matter what the trauma is, Tressa. What actually matters is the effect it had on the person. So what trauma does, it causes to accumulate negative beliefs and outlooks and perspectives and mindsets. And that is how we view the world. And those traumas, beliefs, and mindsets, they're not real. They're real to the person that experienced that trauma because that was their experience. But it's not actually the ultimate divine truth. I mean, you did not come into existence in that shape and in that form. That's not how you were created. You were created in divine perfection. It was planet Earth that allowed you to accumulate all the negative internal dialogues, for the want of a better word. Or some people might refer to it as BS, whichever suits. But yeah, it's your journey through life that has caused this internal misalignment, and knocked you off of your true divine essence. So essentially, trauma and negative experiences will lessen your connection to your divine authenticity, and it'll dampen your light, your inner light, a little bit. Your inner light doesn't go away. It's just the trauma packs around it and it dims it a bit. So, and when you can't see it and you can't find it anymore, you begin to lose faith that it's actually there. It never goes away. It's there. It's just that you need to do the work to uncover the muck that's covering it and let it shine again.
Oh, I love that. And how do you uncover the muck and let it shine again? How do you do in your work?
Okay, so well, obviously people come to me and they want to change, they feel the pull. Sometimes they don't even know. They feel the pull, like I just, there's something not right. I'm itchy, I'm antsy, there's something coming, there's big change coming. I don't feel comfortable anymore. I need to make a change. And other people know exactly what they're coming for. They know, well, XYZ happened to me. It's followed me now for 45, 50 odd years. I'm done with it. I need to move on. Can you help me let it go? Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. But what I'm actually doing is I create a safe space where a person is very, very grounded, very, very divinely protected. And I will, with my skills and my professional tool set, I will guide them into the avenues of their psyche that are, I suppose, I don't want to say contaminated. Let's use the word contaminated. That are contaminated with detrimental inner dialogues and programs. So I suppose I'll just give you an example, Tressa. Would that be the easiest
Yes,
thing? That, yeah.
please. Yeah.
So I had a lady that was coming to me for quite a while, still have her, but we've done a lot of work together. And she's a therapist herself. She's in the area of mental health and counseling, and a fantastic person in every way, shape, or form. But she loves, like myself and like you, Teresa, she loves working on herself and she loves moving through her own blocks and stuff. But she came recently and she had had a particularly jarring experience at a workshop over the weekend previous to that, where it was a CPD workshop and she just seemed to have a problem with somebody else, or the other person on the workshop seems to have a problem for no good reason with her. And it got quite, it was a bit jarring what had happened to her. So when she came here, she was quite upset and she wanted to talk about it and vent, and she vented. And I just asked her, I said, well, you know, why do you think this came about? And she's like, oh, well, you know, and she referred back to an issue, a problem that she had and has ongoing with a certain family member. And she always pointed that issue with that certain family member, the friction between them, being down to her profession. Because in her profession, she helps people with mental health issues. But this person that she had friction with, is in that victim consciousness, doesn't do anything to help themselves, but yet, have, have fairly serious mental health issues. So she always put it down to that that person, it was the fact that they're, her profession was to help people with mental health people and support them through, whereas this person that she was family member of didn't really want that intervention. So it was like that there was a kind of a dynamic between them that was difficult to navigate for her. But what she kind of had found and saw was that it wasn't just with that family member. She said she had observed other times over the years where other people with, and for her it was easy to pick them out because remember she's trained professionally in this. She was able to identify certain people with mental health issues that would take offense to her or would take a dislike to her or whatever. And I said, well, like maybe we look at that a bit deeper. And she's like, yeah, but she had been working with a previous energy healer that had given her the mindset or the perspective of that, well, that's your light. Your light is irritating them people. And I was like, yeah, that's okay. And she just said, so that's kind of what it must be just my light, like because I do so much work on myself. My light is irritating the darkness within them that they don't want to deal with. And I was like, yeah, that's a theory. But what if there was a darkness within you that was irritating them? And she was like, oh, okay. So I was like, do you want to explore this? Like, absolutely. She was game for it. And we went on the most interesting breadcrumb journey of what the darker aspect of it was within her psyche of people with mental health issues and mental health issues in general. Now, remember, this lady is very, very highly qualified, very, very skilled therapist, and has dedicated her whole entire life work to helping people. Like she's a superb person. But what I'm talking about here is the darker part of her psyche when we sunk down into it and we opened it up and it began to speak to me. The inner programs she was running were, I am terrified of people with mental health issues. Like really deep down inside, she had programs running where she found people with mental health issues repulsive. She found people with mental health issues dangerous. All these really unbelievable, deeply embedded programs that were very, very deep. They were not obvious at all. Even herself, she was shocked. But the thing is, when I'm working with somebody, it's not me telling them this is in your system. It's me guiding them to it, bringing them to it, and they find it because they can feel the energy lodged in their field. I do it in such a way that they can feel that energy. It's there, it's present, and they're like, oh my God, that is true, that's there. And when we release on it, it is gone. So we actually went through a whole A4 page, um, like a dialogue of inner perspectives, beliefs, and mindsets towards mental health issues and people with mental health issues that she was harboring on a very deep level in her psyche, in her dark psyche, And once we cleared them through, it was a fascinating journey. We cleared them off, and afterwards we had a chat, and it was, we're very like mind anyway, so it was a very, it was a very heartfelt chat about the whole thing and the whole dynamic of I didn't know that was there. And that was her, that was what she was saying. She was like, I would have no idea what it was there. Like those things we found were there. So it was a case of, okay, let's let that settle. Let's let that process. And she has tools to support herself after the session as she's processing out that energy. And when you come back to me again, we will see how things go. Well, she came back to me again and she said, oh, if I felt tired for a couple of days, you definitely shifted energy here. We did good work. And a few weeks had passed. She said, dare I say, I noticed that family member. Things are a little bit more settled between us. There isn't as much tension, there isn't as much drama. And she's like, how is that? What happened there? What actually happened there, Tressa, was that, that professional, that wonderful lady I'm talking about, who dedicated her life. She had that dark area of her psyche that was there somewhere resonant within her system. And when she came across somebody that was, and you remember, a lot of people with anxiety or mental health issues, they're actually quite energetically sensitive. And when they're quite energetically sensitive, they are sensitive to the stuff that is running on a lot of levels of the psyche of a person, right? So that person, her family member, was actually picking up on all of those dark programs. So can you imagine being with your family member and underneath it all, it was like, people with mental health are dangerous, or I'm terrified of people with mental health. Of course, she's going to, it's not a verbal conversation. This is an energetic conversation that happens on an energetic level when you're stood in the vicinity of somebody else's energy field. And that's the conversation that was happening between them. Of course, you're going to take offense. Of course, you're going to put your boundaries up. Of course, you're going to try and protect yourself from feeling that because you have enough to deal with. So for her, when we dissected it and we had, I suppose, post-mortem, as you call it, afterwards, a couple of weeks later, and let the energy settle, it made such total sense. And she had such an aha moment. Now, I have aha moments all the time in this work, my own personal work with her, but for her, it was so you could nearly feel it in the room because it was such a journey for her to understand. So that's just giving you an example of how we're and I've no doubt for her clearing those programs would also open her up to helping people on a lot deeper level.
Yeah.
It really will. Like what she's going to see that when it really processes out and she integrates that learning, and you've work to do then as well to reprogram yourself on a conscious level. So she's gone off then to do her exercises that I give to program herself on a conscious level to make sure that she's embedding better programs that will serve her relationships and serve her professionally when she's in interaction with her clients. So she does have, homework to do, but it's the difference it makes in your day-to-day life to drop that dark psyche energy. And I mean, obviously, we didn't need to know to go into it, but there was trauma somewhere on her timeline that had, really affected her in terms of mental health. Who knows what? We didn't need to know. We just cleared the result of it. And that is how I work.
And it's
Yeah.
amazing that she was so open to it as well. And then it has a snowball effect because now she's gone on to be a better therapist and she's helping other people. And it was great
Yeah.
that she was so open to kind of like dig deeper and kind of look into that shadow side of herself, whereas a lot of people run away, you know. I was
That's
actually
the
just
truth,
thinking,
Sasha.
yeah,
Tressa, sorry. You have to be open. I mean, if you're going to be sitting there thinking, the victim mentality, that's not going to work anymore.
yeah,
So I love listening to you astrologers because it's exactly what I see. I see in my own life. I see it professionally. I see it in my family members. The victim mentality is crumbling
yeah,
fast. But as it's
100%.
crumbling, where do we go? Because old ways are hard. It's hard to kick old habits.
Mm.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was
it's
actually just thinking there when you were talking about that lady, because I had a session with you, and I've obviously sent family members to you as well with a list of their astrological indicators and
yeah.
wounds and things like that from their chart, and even myself. And yeah, you really do dig deep. I mean, I remember that you put me under, and I mean, even go back into past lives. I mean, I know from my
If it comes
astrology,
up.
yeah, if it
Mm.
comes up, I know my astrology chart inside out, and like past lives would have been kind of like in institutions, religious, all that kind of stuff. And you were saying things like, "Can you see anything?" And I'm not really a visual person when you visualize stuff, but I could see two nuns talking and whispering to each other. But how is this even possible, you know? But you
Mm.
brought up like the hidden beliefs and things like that. So it even trickles through from the past lives as well, which is amazing. And I love the work that you said send us home with as well afterwards. It's very powerful and it does have a huge effect. Actually, speaking about religious, do you ever come across religious indoctrination? I know we have a mutual friend who talks about it in the Roman church kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, for a start, I was born into it. So I mean, I had to, I've personal ground hand experience of it. But yeah, I do. And it picks, it depends on what a person picks up. So some people would be more tendency to lean into a certain ideology more than others, but it can affect people in a relationship basis, in an intimate basis. That's very, very common. The shame around all of that. It can affect people financially because there's a huge ethos there of money being bad or money, bad people are rich or you're selfish, those kind of paradigms. So yeah, and I mean, if you have very negative perspectives deeply embedded in your psyche in relation to money, it is going to have a massive impact on your life and the potential, you know. So yeah, absolutely. And it's across the board. Across the board. A religious indoctrination and religious ideology will affect you on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
And it's not just in Ireland, it's all around the world. isn't
all
it?
around the world.
Yeah.
We're all, and it's not just Catholic, the Catholic religion. It's across the board. It's widespread. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about if clients say to you, why can't I let it go? Why is it keep following me?
Yeah. Well, I suppose I like to have this here. So this is like a virtual reality lens, and this kind of describes my work, that I'm deprogramming you of the reality that you have been indoctrinated into. So whatever you're seeing in the outside world, my job is to deprogram all the negative stuff so that when you're looking through your lens into the outside world, you're not looking through the lens of your trauma. You're not looking through the lens of the BS that happened to you or the unhealed people that shaped you in certain way. Because we all have that going on too. I mean, we're human and life is life, and that is the way it goes. Um, but when people can't let stuff go, they have an attachment to this reality that they envisaged, and they're not letting go because they can't accept, for whatever reason. Now, not being there is a way around. The main reason we can't accept something is because we don't really understand it. So if someone, breaks up with us or drops us or whatever, or eliminates us or puts strong boundaries in or whatever may happen, if you have a reality within you where you believe it should be a certain way, you're tied into that reality and you're going to find it very hard to let go. There may be numerous parts of your psyche tied into the reality of they shouldn't have done that, or we should be together, or whatever the ideology is within you. If you can break up that perceived reality of what you thought it should have been, how you thought it should have worked out, if you can break up that reality, straight away the central nervous system decompresses. Straight away. And get that energy out. It decompresses and it gives the person a chance to relax and breathe and to look out at the situation with a little bit more peace and a bit more calmness. And that's when you can do the reasoning and you can bring understanding then to why it happened. And when you can break up the model, and you can break up the perspective and you can bring in, an understanding of why it happened, usually what happens is there's a quantum leap in their growth because they realize actually I was tied into something there. There's way more potential here. Or that person really wasn't serving me. They were actually holding me back. Or, it depends on the situation. I'm not, I don't want to tie it into breakups and relationships or whatever, but that is just an example. So it's changing your attachment. It's releasing on the attachment of how you thought it should be. And when you release on it a little bit, decompress the central nervous system, then you can bring in the understanding. And once the understanding comes, the growth is immediate. It's like you can't avoid it because that is the human consciousness, the human psyche is programmed. We are chipped to grow, to evolve, to change, to shift, to better ourselves all the time. Growth and evolvement is part of our journey here. We're programmed to do it. So when we need to let stuff go, it's really just to look at that program that's stopping us from letting it go. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely
Does that
amazing.
make sense? I
It
hope I made
does.
sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I was actually just thinking about a client that we refer clients to each other sometimes as well. And
Yeah.
in the charts, there are astrological charts. There's astrological indicators of trauma and wounds and things like that. And
Yeah.
the one that jumped out to me was a lady who had Draco square, which indicated conflict in her house of kind of home and family, and that was playing out in her life. So her soul has decided to kind of use the trauma in this life and kind of heal it. So that's where she was led to you. But knowing it in her chart, she doesn't have to blame herself because it was the energy she's chosen to kind of work with. So, and it can make quantum leaps. You were talking about quantum leaps. If only therapists could have these charts and kind of, the client work with the client and just make these massive quantum leaps, you know?
Yeah.
Actually,
Absolutely.
yeah. And bringing them back to alignment, how would you bring them back to alignment then afterwards?
Well, the alignment comes with when you release on that, the negative reality that they were living in, which may be I'm not good enough, nobody loves me, I'm I'm poor, or whatever the reality they're tied into is. When you release the energy on that, it's no longer a part of the reality. So they're not going to operate in the energy of I'm not good enough. So it frees them up to operate in a higher vibration, a higher frequency, you know. Um, so bringing them back into alignment, the more you can decompress and release on the inner dialogues that are disruptive and that are knocking them out of alignment or dimming their light, as we were talking about earlier, the more they come back into alignment with their light. So it's the trauma healing. When you clear the trauma of the grievances, the losses, the deaths, the breakups, the job losses, the you know, the redundancies, the side swipes, you know, the loss of a business or whatever, when you deal with all of that stuff on an energetic level, um, that's when you make the quantum leaps. Now remember, it's important for me to say as well, mostly when people get to me, they have been on a journey. Many of them have already been through the traditional counseling, psychotherapy, and they've done other forms of energy healing. And many of them come to me and said they've done everything and nothing's changed. You know, and I do say that's not true, because when you started out in your journey and you were referred and you did psychotherapy, that was an essential part. That's what you needed at that time. And you followed your breadcrumbs and you stayed going and you stayed going and you stayed going. You came to my chair when you should have been gone to psychotherapy, it wouldn't have worked for you. So it is a journey of breadcrumbs and you have got to just stay going in front of it. And that's, you know, that is the quantum law. So it's not that nothing has worked. It's just that you haven't come to the core of it. And that's what I'll do. I will try as best as you are ready to bring you to the core of it. And sometimes I can't bring people to the core of it because it wouldn't be safe. You know, it wouldn't be, it's not divinely timed for them. I see a lot, the planetary alignments, the huge impact. Sometimes I'll ask, have you had your, because there might be some big stuff going on. Have you had your chart read? Do you know what's going on for you in the skies right now? Have you had a professional reading done? Because it looks to me like you're really going through some of a big cycle here in this, and it'd be nice to have insight, and it brings comfort. It's like, oh, so it's just not like I'm damned with bad luck. This is actually something that I'm moving through because the alignment in the skies, and it is part of my journey, and this too shall pass. It does bring comfort, Trust. I do
Yeah.
find that. Do you find that with
Oh,
clients? Yeah.
100% it does. Because I had a lady there the last day, and an American lady, and she was saying, why can't I have the success that other people have? Like I'm grinding and working hard. And then I looked, and I could see that it was like the Pluto was playing out in her house of career. And it was all about like, patience and divine timing and things like that. But now it gets better for her. So she relaxed and she goes, oh, thank God, I thought it was
Mhm.
just me. Like, why was I working so hard? But yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
all there in the chart, and it just gives you comfort, so it does. And how do
It
you do
does.
how do you do this work here without picking up on, like, how you must obviously have clearing techniques that you do.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I do say I really do only work here, and I wouldn't come to a day of work. I sit in, and depending on your beliefs, it doesn't matter what your beliefs are, but it's source energy, it's God source energy, angelic frequencies, the Christ consciousness. Like, I will draw on those divine energies that are there for us all. Unfortunately, due to Catholic indoctrination that I had, I was quite fearful of going near that in earlier years. But I worked through that because I cleared on the programs around that. But once you let that frequency in, because remember, I'm saying everybody has that. Everybody on this earth has access to divine support and divine connection and divine protection. But you've got to ask. That's the only catch. You have to have free will. You have free will. You know, nothing can overstep your free will. It's your divine right to do as you will. But so you've got to ask. And we have got to ask every single day, go out into the day ahead of me, clear the path, show me what I need to do, protect me. So I hugely, hugely, and always was hugely attracted to, the angelic realm, and I always prayed, but calling them in, bringing them in around me. But I actually found somebody a gorgeous girl in Dublin. Her name is Debbie Boyle. And I've worked with her for a lot of years now, and she is just incredible. But she helped me to mend that part of myself that didn't feel worthy of the angelic divine frequency support. And it has been life changing, because when you bring that frequency in, you're on a different trajectory. You've just got to trust. And I always say that all I do here is I open space. I bring those frequencies in around myself, in around my client, in around our space. And then I will use my own intuition, my own innate gifts that I was born with, to access the dark parts of that client, the parts of themselves that they wouldn't ordinarily be aware of, or more likely that they suppress or they run from. So it's the stuff that when it comes up somewhere in your psyche, that's when you go off and you start scrolling, or maybe you start smoking, or you hit the bottle of wine, or maybe shopping to shop it away, scroll it away, eat it away, exercise it away, whatever it is. It's that part of ourselves when it begins to rise in our psyche and go, knock, 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 I'm here, you're not good enough. That's when we tend to run off
Yeah.
and do our whatever our coping mechanism is.
Mm.
But ordinarily, that's what we will do. But when you work with me, you're in that safe space and you don't have the need. There's nowhere to go anyway. But
Yeah.
you can't scroll, you can't eat, and I can safely pull you through finding it, identifying it, acknowledging it, owning it, releasing
Mm.
it. And it's done in the space of minutes. It's quite, but it's not me doing the work. I
Yeah.
always say that. I'm just here. I mean, if it
Mm.
wasn't me, it'd be somebody else. I'm just willing to do it, and I'm passionate about doing it, and I absolutely love the work I do. So I do it willingly. But it isn't me. It's the divine. It is the divine that is working through me and with me every day, thankfully.
Yeah, and I love that. And you're very good at what you do. And obviously, Debbie came into your life as an earth angel to
She
help you.
did.
Yeah,
Oh wow, she's an
yeah.
incredible. And I've had many teachers along my path, and I'm
Mm.
sure I'll have many more.
Mm.
But for her, her connection was just so. It was something I aspired to, and I can't say enough about her, and how she helped me on my journey, how she helped me to fix that, um, unworthiness.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not really worthy of that divine support, and that was real deep down. Now she works much different to me, um, but I mean, without her, she was
Mm.
life
Mm.
changing work.
Yeah, I love what you do. I love the frequencies. I just relaxed into it immediately. Everything you called on, all the beings and everything, the angelic frequency. Oh, it was just amazing. That's the most powerful part of your work, I think. And that's what I love.
Yeah, it is. I would
Mm.
agree. It doesn't happen because as humans, we're programmed to resist and to suppress and to go away from anything that feels uncomfortable,
Mm.
anything that kind of would trigger a bit of shame, because there is a lot of shame attached. And I mean, I have a file of myself there, and sometimes I read back on stuff that I cleared a couple of years ago, and I'm like, whoa, wow. You know, we all have it, and if we're not careful, we can trip into shame. But when you're in safe space and you bring in the divine support, it's comforting. It's safe to look at it. There's nobody judging you. There's nobody going to judge you because you think you're the worst person in the world, or because you don't think you deserve to be loved, or whatever is going on for you. There's nobody here to judge you, and there's just such a strong, intense support and nurturance in the frequencies that come in, that it's a very lovely process to move through.
Mm.
It's not at all painful. You would think the work I do is messy and sore and tears and everything. No, it's
Empowering.
very gentle, very
Yeah.
empowering. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And you were talking there about escapism. Actually, Pisces, Neptune and Pisces was all about escapism. So to the games, the drugs, the alcohol, all that kind of stuff, that's all going to move away now. So it is. So people won't be escaping anymore when it moves in to Aries on the 30th of March 2025. So big changes ahead. I do work with the Angelic Realm as well in the Akashic Records. So I do the natal chart and the galactic chart for my clients, but I also tap into their Akashic Records and I work with the Angelic Realm just to dig deeper. You can get into their soul
Oh,
records so
absolutely.
easily. Yeah. and pull through
Yeah.
the most relevant information. Yeah, this has absolutely been amazing. Can you tell me about your 3 month program that you have?
Yeah, so obviously I work with clients. I have a lot of variation there. So when you go onto my website, you can see that there's different options there for people to work with me. But if you know, there's a 3 month program for people that feel called in, and that 3 month program, I just say I'm only the container for it. I'm only the carer. It's a whole thing of itself. It's a whole power, divine power of itself. And basically, we meet weekly for 12 weeks and we do really deep, intense work. The work is never planned, as in, there's no set agenda at all. We follow what happens. So I see the planetary alignments playing out in that 3 month program incredibly. It's often when we look back at the end and we see the synchronicity of when they started and how it all matches up. Incredible. But that 3 months is for a person to really delve down on the stuff that's dim in their light, that's holding them back, that's magnetizing unpleasant relationships, situations, repeated patterns back into their life. It's intense. It is intense. And there's times it's tiring. It can be hard work. There's a process in it. But when they've finished and they come out and they give themselves a couple of weeks to integrate, they all come back to say there has been such a profound change. Now, I have no control. I will never overpromise to anyone. I have no control over how much of a change or how that change will manifest into their life. It will do what it needs to do for that person at that time. I just trust in the divine. They'll do what it is to do for them. Some people are ready for the quantum leap, and it's like, boom, you see them 3 months later, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months later, and they've launched their business. They're off doing this, that, the other. Things have up leveled. Other people say, I just have a peace. I don't hate myself anymore. I don't need the approval of others anymore. And other people everybody has their own experience, but they will get from it exactly that which they need at this time in their life. And I very, very rarely urge people to go into that 3 month program. It's there on my website. They can see, they can read through it. And if they come back to me, they say, I'd like to do that. We will have a conversation. More often than not, though, I just get an email to say such one has signed up to the program. The only thing is they have had to have at least one session with me before they do, because for me, Tressa, it's very important energetically that we match, that we resonate with each other. I'm not for everyone, and that's okay. And everyone isn't for me. And this work has got to be enjoyable for me and for the person taking part. And if I can't help them, there'll be somebody else that can. So the energy's got to be right. The frequency's got to be right. The vibe has got to be right. Yeah. So yeah. And then I have the drop in, drop out. There's some people that just come once a month for a while, maybe. They're working through something. And other people kind of maybe do 3 or 4 sessions in a tight bunch, and then I might see them every so often. It's completely up to the person themselves. There's never any pressure. Yeah, so it's just
What's your
whatever
website?
feels.
What's your website?
www.kiraburns.com. So you'll get me there and you can sign up for my newsletter and stuff. And also you can access me there for a discovery call. So before I work with anybody, I give them a half-hour free call where we connect and we discuss things and we suss out, are we going to be compatible here? Um, yeah, so that's available. You can book that through my website. And yeah, there's
Exciting.
there's support out there, yeah. Because
Yeah.
as you said, Trasa, you were saying there a couple of moments ago, in March 2025, that all of this is clearing out and there's no victim consciousness. I mean, that is fantastic. We are so excited about that. But in reality, we've got to be mindful. There is people that are going to be launched into their dark night of the soul. They're already in the dark
Yeah.
night of the soul. And it's a very lonely, dark place to be. Very, very scary. And there is help out there, but we have to be mindful of those people that pulling the rug out from under them, that energy, that frequency change, and not sustaining their victimhood much anymore, or not sustaining their tendencies to be
Mm.
narcissistic or their tendencies to be a bully or whatever. When they find the reality around them changing, it can be absolutely it can be very hard to move through. So we have to be mindful of those people, but that's who we're here to help. We're here to help the people who want to help themselves,
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Here to
Yeah.
help the people who want to help themselves. Yes, 100%. Because we were talking about before that, um, we know people who have had healing work and they've continuously had healing work, but then is there an end to it kind of thing? You'd help them at a
Yeah.
certain stage, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I think healers as healers, and the word healer to me is like I see myself more as a guide.
Mm.
But uh, healers in general, let's just use the healers word. I mean, a lot of us can fall into the trap of thinking that we're evolved because, we have done all this work and, we have all this knowledge and we have opened up our psychic gifts, or we've tapped into our innate gifts. We've reclaimed parts of ourselves that may have been dormant or whitened off because of trauma or dimmed off because of trauma. And we think, oh, we're there. But it's the biggest trap to fall into. We have got to keep working.
Yeah.
So I think you asked me a couple of minutes ago, and I don't know did I quite answer it. How do I do this work without picking up negative energies? And I know now I didn't answer it. Apologies for that. But how I do it is keep doing my own work.
Mm.
Any energy I come across cannot affect me negatively if there isn't something within side of me that is resonant to it.
Mhm.
So I have done so much work, and I will continue, and I believe we will always be doing the
Yeah.
work as long as we're on planet Earth, as long as we have air in our lungs. There is going to be stuff to work through in our psyche. It is what it is. I don't think the term of reaching enlightenment or being evolved, I don't buy into that at all. I really don't. And I think any healer or any person or therapist or practitioner that does, I personally would avoid them like a plague, because to me it's important. I only work with people who are working on themselves all the
Yeah.
time. And that's like for me, I'm passionate. I put time aside for myself every single day. Everything new that comes into my reality or every situation I see, kind of look at, okay, why did that trigger me? What did that mean for me? And I will sit down and I'll be my own client, and I will do exactly for myself what I do for clients. And I will continue to do that, because if I don't, I cannot be the person or the guide that, the collective will need me to be, or my clients will need me to be. So it's vital that we do.
Integrity. That's what you
Yeah.
have here, integrity. And that's what I love
I
from
hope
people.
so.
You do, you
I
do.
try. Mm.
And yeah, no, that's absolutely fascinating conversation. So it is. I looked at both of our charts before we came on, and you don't have any Pisces in your chart. I rarely have any Pisces. So the two of us have the exact same ascendant. So we really are much truth seekers, and we're looking forward to kind of 2025 when things are going to change. And as you said, yes, there will be people having dark night of the soul, especially people who have
Yeah.
lots of Pisces in their chart. Because it was Neptune was in Pisces since 2011, 2012. It was all about like the wounds that were crying out to be healed. But then when it comes into changes into Aries in the 30th of March 2025, it's about stepping into your power. I mean, the last time that happened actually was the French Revolution, which,
Oh, wow.
the French Revolution. So, the monarchy, they had so much power and money and everything, and all the peasants, the people on the streets had nothing and they couldn't grow any food. So, and couple that with Pluto in Aquarius, which is all about the people, it's going to be a massive movement. So it is movement forward,
Yeah.
stepping into your power. And another thing as well, you were talking about spirit guides. I was just thinking about a French lady I did a report for, and what came up very clearly for her is she had Merlin as her spirit guide. And I was
Oh,
talking to her about it on her report on the call, and she said, "Would you believe I actually read all the books about Merlin? I've been to England once, and I'm drawn to go to Ireland, and it's amazing the amount of help that we have, and we're so powerful, and we don't even know it. So much
we
power, so
just
much help. Yeah,
we need to ask. We just need to
yes,
ask and be
yeah,
open and sit and meditate
yeah,
and let the information in. It's there. We just need to tap in.
yeah, 100%. But we'll definitely come on board next time, and we'll bring up another topic because this is absolutely fascinating. So exciting
Absolutely.
times ahead. So thanks a
Exciting
million,
times.
Kira.
Thank you, Teresa. It was a joy as always.
As always. I'll put your
As
link
always.
in the description anyway, kiraburns.com. And if anyone wants to connect with Kira, they can reach out to you.